we share a close friend. And so I've known her since we were itty bitty girls running around at 3 and 4 years old. We both went to church together in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. And Carlton knows her because
I
they,
met her in the fourth grade.
yes, fourth grade. They went to Princeton
Yeah, we are
District,
relics.
yeah, elementary school. And so she brought him up to me. Actually, I was graduating from grad school. She brought him up to me, and I was like, nope, I'm about to move to a new city. I ain't trying to be tied down. Like, I got to start this new life post grad school. So I actually was living in Lexington, Kentucky. It was my first job working for University of Kentucky. I worked at their Martin Luther King Center. And so, but what would happen is every time I would come home for like holiday breaks, she would just kind of like nudge and bring them up. She did share with me that, he has a son and all of those aspects of him. And I was okay with that because my brother comes from a blended family, or he has a blended family. So I knew I would be comfortable with that. But either way, she kept nudging him and bringing him up. And then finally, um, I think it was my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
It was my 25th,
Yep.
25th birthday. Supposedly, he was supposed to show up and come. He didn't show up and come.
Because first of all, I got dressed and literally fell asleep fully clothed. Right. I got off work. Right.
Yeah.
First, I didn't get off work till 10 o'clock. Then I got home, changed, and fell asleep. And I was like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't be driving."
Which is
This
fair.
sleepy.
But I will say I wouldn't have remembered him anyway because it was my 25th birthday, a lot of drinks. We know what that means. So either way, I think he hit me up on Facebook, and I kind of was like, okay.
I
Looked,
apologize.
he apologized, hit me up on Facebook. He claims that I kind of curved him for like a little bit of time.
Swear.
But then finally, to speed this up, I did reach back out. We started talking on the phone. Our relationship started off long distance. But I would say what really brought us together was that we both were people who had spiritual encounters, about, hey, like, this is about being about God. We both were abstinent in the process. We both were really deep in prayer and said, the next person we want to be with needs to be it. And so for both of us to have those revelations on our own, and then we came together. And so yeah, we talked and we worked it out long distance. I would come to Cincinnati, he would come to Lexington. We was together, and then literally a year later, we were engaged, and married 3 months
Proposed
later.
exactly at 1 year.
Yeah, proposed exactly at 1 year. So I think that's you. I think you might have. I think you asked about it lasting for 8 years. I think it's just us recognizing that we are two whole people coming together. That our faith was important. Another thing was that our visions and journeys aligned. That we were both educators, both really big into our passion, goal oriented. So I think a lot of that is what keeps us here now.
So we have two together. That's Asher, who's 5. She's without question the most gangster individual in our house.
She's the
And
boss.
then you have Judah. He's 2. He'll be 3 in March. And then my oldest son is 15. So coming to grips with the idea that I will have a junior in high school, a kindergartner, and one that's still in daycare, all in the same year. So getting old. So this is gonna sound crazy, but I only focus on 4 things. So our business is Educate the World. That's been operating for the last 12 years. Um, and started right after I graduated from Morehouse College in 2011. I was crazy to start a business. I didn't know everything that I needed to know, but now that business it's always been a consultancy. We primarily focus, my book, which is Resist Every Bias on Every Level, that I just had my 7th year anniversary of that release. She has a book as well. I'll let her talk about it a little bit more. Um, And then we do some program design, we do some curriculum design, and a bunch of different facilitations. Um, then also another business I've been a part of for the last 6 years, Rise Business Solutions. So doing minority business development, I lead strategy in terms of uh, just being able to innovate operations as well as your uh, just the ability to make money, right? Creating revenue streams. Third thing is the Heights movement. So me and some very close friends that I've all known since we were kids. We all ended up being back in Lincoln Heights at the same time. Two of them founded the Heights movement. I've come on board to get the 501c3 up and running and all of that. There, we run a My Brother's Keeper chapter. So we got MBK Lincoln Heights and work with the Obama Foundation as well as Senator Sherrod Brown. We have a farm. We converted the church to an innovation center. We've hired 40 kids so far, and they do work in the community. But our biggest thing that we worked on was the removal of the Cincinnati Police Department gun range. With that, it's been a 4-year battle because they have a gun range that has been operating. They shoot 38,000 gun training hours, 6 days a week, 7+ hours a day, and they've been there for 76 years, right? Any and everybody who's grown up in and around Lincoln Heights, you've heard this gunfire. A lot of people think it's the people of Lincoln Heights. No, it's actually Cincinnati Police, Evendale, FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals. So we took on this challenge. We had to do a lot to get the city and the county, state, federal government to all work together. In total, there's been $44 million raised to build a new range, and they'll soon be a ceasefire. So help me God. So the people of Woodlawn and Lincoln Heights can just grow up and live just like everybody else in Cincinnati. I always say that gunfire is the soundtrack to our lives. Um, and it's going to be a blessing for I get to see a lot of seniors and elders that I care about get peace for the very first time in their lives. So proud to say we were able to accomplish that. Um, and then finally, my day job. I I place 18 to 24-year-old men of color into preschools as literacy tutors. So day job is with the literacy lab. The program is called Leading Men Fellowship Cincinnati. So I serve as the program manager. Currently have 25 of those young men that are working in preschools and a couple that are in kindergarten. And we do all things literacy related. Um, so I'll pause there. I'll let her jump in.
Yes. I think where to start. So I know he talked a little earlier about him at one point K through 12, and so a lot of my work initially was in higher education, and so I did get my graduate degree in student affairs and higher ed, and I've worked at a variety of universities in the tri-state area. So University of Kentucky was the first, then Miami, UC, and Xavier. And so I am a space creator. It's pretty much what I call. I do a lot of identity work. And so a lot of the places and spaces that I've worked at on these college campuses were cultural centers. So if they were the Black Cultural Center or the Center for Diversity and Inclusion or the Women's Center, those were a lot of the spaces that I've worked. And so really it's providing, a space for students who are sometimes the lonely only, and oftentimes historically the only. And so just making sure that they're celebrated, making sure that there's events and programs that showcase their stories, their talents. And so I did a lot of that work probably for 10 years. And I shifted that work, and now I do diversity work at Cincinnati Children's. And so instead of doing it for college students, I do it for hospital employees. And so that's my day job. So I'm starting with my day job and then working to the entrepreneur. And then Carlton really actually gave me the entrepreneur bug because I knew he had Educate the World, and And I knew that a lot of these things I do on a college campus, I'm like, I can do this for the masses, or everybody doesn't have access to these type of programs and initiatives. And so I kind of wanted to take some of these things kind of out of these ivory towers, I guess I would say. And so I wrote a book. So journaling is something that's very important to me. I've always been a person who needed that productivity tool, organizational tool. And then later in life, when we started having more conversations about mental health, I realized that I was also using those tools because I struggle with anxiety at times. And so journaling really helps me to organize, but also be mindful. And so I have the book. It's called Be Journal. A and it talks a lot about purpose discovery and self confidence. And it helps people with gratitude, goal setting, reflective questions, and quotes. And so I have that. But then I thought about how journaling is great, but it's great to do it in community with others or to kind of have a sense of accountability and connection. And so, actually, this year I launched B Camp. And so, B Camp is a holistic wellness retreat for Black women. And this is just an opportunity for Black women to be soft. We're in spaces a lot of times where we have to have a guard up, where we might not feel safe at work, in our neighborhoods. um, Sometimes we can't even fully be ourselves. We have to code switch and so forth, all the things. And so I just wanted to create a space for us to be soft, for us to think about our wellness, for us to be in community. And so B Camp is that experience. And so we'll be offering several of them this year. I got that support from United Way, their Black Empowerment Works grant, and also a backup a little bit because I know I got the entrepreneur bug from Carlton, but also just shout out to Queens Village and Mortar because they both sponsored me to really get B Journal off the ground and how to monetize it and how to make it a business. And so yeah, that's I guess a little bit about us.
But you asked the question also, how do we balance? How do we manage it?
Yeah.
Um, so the very first thing was, well, that I committed to this year, right, was right not setting myself on fire so other people can stay warm, right. So just creating and placing boundaries in terms of um, all of these other different ventures and people, and right being possessive of my time to ensure that I can still be there for all of the little moments, right, that happen with the kids. And I'm big on being an active father. I was raised by a single father myself, with just me, my dad, and my brother. So uh, I get it, right? And just in terms of the influence and the magnitude of having an active dad in your life. And then also, like, I feel like, right, I had the fortune and privilege to watch or witness 6 50-year marriages, right, in my family. So I knew, like, this, it had examples, had people I can pick their brain of what was required, right? It takes a lot. There's rarely things called balance in my life, but I think as I've grown and matured as a man, also like putting certain things in place in terms of staying organized, right? If it don't, once upon a time, I never used to use the calendar, right? If you talk about a decade ago, I'm not using the calendar for nobody for any reason. Like I just that wasn't me, right? But now, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, right? So just making sure, and also just making sure that I have time like blocked off on my calendar that is just space, right? Just for me, just to catch up on something, just to handle some type of business that's family related. So it's a lot. It's always a juggling act, but I think by and large we do a fairly good job of keeping up with everything.
Hmm. And I'll add to that. I think it's having a village. So we both of our families are here. So like our parents are here, his grandparents, his dad is here. Our siblings are here. We have tons of aunts, uncles, cousins, and so I would say having a village. And so I know that they help us out a lot. Give us an opportunity to have date nights, and if we want to travel.
Hmm.
And so
30 years from now, right, Lord willing, um, see us at the top of this education empire that um, is impacting and influencing the lives of, let's be bold, a million kids a year, somewhere in the spectrum from 4 years old to 24, 24, 25. Um, yeah, I think the bigger things, I think the big thing that's really, really interesting for us is that we get to kind of co design, co dream up a life and a world that we want to see. Um, yes, there's been a lot of shifts, there's been a lot of advancement, right? But I think the thing that also like helps us from a uh, helps the strength of our relationship is the fact that we both came in with a vision for what we wanted to do and how we wanted to impact and help the world, right? Um, so we get a chance to like develop that design. What does that look like? How many different ways and can we, pull our gifts out in the process? Um, monetize those gifts, but also um, just create new and different ways for us to be um, just impactful in people's lives, right? Um, if I never get to where I want to be financially, which God gave me that vision too, so I assume that I'm going to get there regardless. But if I never reach it, I do know that I'll be spending the remaining of my time on this earth like pouring into people, right? Whether it be youth, whether it be adults. I give out more free game than I ever sell. Like it's never even close. Um, so yeah, 30 years from now, like most importantly, like I want to have my good name, right? Um, and just to be a person that still operates from integrity, still operates from purpose, still has a very clear understanding of my place, my role in life, um, and prayerfully I'll have my missus by my side in the process.
um, I would say again, just still creating those spaces for people. And so I know we call it educate the world. So the thought is that we won't only touch the Cincinnati area, but what would it look like to have touched many areas, many states, um, many countries? You really don't.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be in countries by that point.
But I think that's a big thing. I also think it's about leaving a legacy for our children. That's been a big thing, is building generational wealth, building legacy for our family. Um, I know that's been a big piece for me. Another thing that I've loved about being an entrepreneur is I love being able to put money back into Black women's hands, put money back into Black businesses' hands. That's been great. With B Camp, it was a grant, supported by a grant, and it's been so nice to just be able to pay Black women for their time, their work, their businesses, and to hire people, give people an opportunity. Um, Career development is really important to me. So also, like with my work on a college campus, I did a lot of mentorship based programs, a lot of programs to help people with their goals and with their visions. And so I would just love to that we have done that for a lot of people. Um, and then just giving back to our community, things of that nature. And then also fun. Did you say fun?
I mean,
Play. A little bit of play too, like traveling,
gallivanting around the
you
world
know,
at that point.
maybe owning properties in different places so we can just
Only
enjoy.
Africa.
So we can just enjoy. That's what I would say.
Had to get that fist in there. We ran all black. Yeah.